Sleep Token haven't got the biggest name yet. Now, that could change. Yo, what's happening, people? Welcome back to the channel. I have been prancing around all day like a maniac trying to get to London, but I'm here now at my Airbnb. I'm staying just beside the Wembley Arena where Sleep Token are playing in front of 10,000 people tonight. So I figured I'd take you guys along, do a little bit of a vlog. This one's probably going to be a little bit more raw than what I normally do vlog wise, because I just don't have time coming up to the Christmas to like do a big cinematic vlog. So we're going to take you along. Like I said, it's going to be a historic event. I'm going to meet some very special individuals right now as well. So next clip, I should be with them. So let's go. Mr. Steve is here as well. You love to see it.
Yeah, this place is crazy.
I think you got it. Oh yeah, that's a nice shot. God damn. Bird, walk with me, walk with me.
Guys, how are you? I hope you're all well. I hope you guys are feeling a little bit better than I am right now. It's been a couple days since the Sleep Token event and I'm still hungover. I'm not gonna lie. Me and Burb and Steve, we sent it. It was a great fucking time. It was like a moment that I feel like was supposed to happen for a long time, and it finally did, and it was surreal to meet the lads. But I am now in fact home. It's Tuesday. The event was on Saturday, and of course I am speaking of the Sleep Token event in London. And I hope you guys did enjoy the like vlog portion of the video in the intro. I would have liked to maybe extend that a little bit more, but because I wasn't able to bring my camera into the venue, I just got some clips on my phone, and I really wanted to like take in the moments. The set list was absolutely amazing. I'm going to go into a lot of detail as to my own personal thoughts. I think Steve did a fantastic job at like the very objective happenings of the night, and then obviously his own anecdotal experiences. So I don't really know much else to add, like in terms of everyone knows what happened with Vessel losing his voice. I guess I'll just speak from the heart about my experiences with the event, because this is like my second kind of quote unquote work event. Again, I say that in massive quotation marks, because the fact that I can even consider this a job is like, you know, it was kind of like one of those pinch me moments for a lot of the entire trip. Like there was moments where I turned to Burb and Steve and I was kind of just like, this is like, we're actually together. Like I was trying to like comprehend, like these guys I've been watching on the internet for, you know, Burb a little bit longer than Steve, but like pretty much since I've discovered these guys, it's been like every video they've dropped, I've pretty much watched everything, apart from, you know, the reactions that I don't want to check out purely because I don't want to spoil for myself. But I've always been so interested in these guys' thoughts, and just generally like I feel like we would get on in person. So that is exactly how it was when we did meet up, because obviously when you have these opinions of people online, it can be disappointing if they do not meet those expectations. So it was really nice to finally meet the lads and have my assumptions, or you know, confirm that they are the people that I assumed they were based on their content. So yeah, we'll go into a little bit more detail in maybe a later video. I've got a vlog that will probably follow this, that is a more fun vlog style video that I hoped that this video would, but I just don't have enough footage from the actual event because of how hectic everything was leading up to it. And again, I'll give a lot of context as to how I got to the event in the first place, because it was something that was not really in my long-term plans. It was all very last minute, which I'll go into. But yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to the lads first and foremost. I think if you really want a objective feedback on how the night went from a fan's perspective, then I think you should go and check out Steve's video. He uploaded his yesterday, and once I watched it, I was like, okay, what can I add to this? Like, Steve's done such a good job at just explaining exactly what happened from a like a very objective standpoint. Vessel losing his voice, obviously everyone, every news article, every news outlet has covered it at this point. So I'm just gonna really touch on my experiences with the event, again leading up to everything. So it all kind of started, I think we'll bring it back to the initial announcement of the Wembley Arena show. You know, when that went live, it was like, okay, I'm gonna try get tickets to this. I was originally supposed to see Sleep Token play in Dublin back in 2021, I believe it was November, and that show got cancelled. Obviously very disappointed, but it's crazy to even think back to the venue that they were actually supposed to be playing in at the time. It was a around 2,000 capacity venue, which is crazy. Like, when Sleep Token will never play in a venue like that again. Maybe it's very particular scenarios they might do that, but it just seems like they're kind of pushing past that limit of, you know, 2,000 is far too small. And, you know, that was only 2 years ago, and to think now that like they're selling out the Wembley Arena show in 10 minutes, 10,000 tickets, I was surprised by it. And again, this is all playing into the context leading up to how I got to the event, because I assumed that I would have about 24 hours to get a ticket. I didn't think they would sell out that quickly. Oh, how wrong I was, of course. You know, I mean, hindsight is 2020, but, you know, I would never make that mistake again. And if you are considering making that mistake, if you do get the opportunity to see Sleep Token live, just be in the queue early to get your ticket. Getting closer to the event, you know, there was, you know, a lot of hype being built. I know Burb was going to be over there, and I was like, fuck man, I should really try and get a ticket. But it was kind of just more in the back of my mind. It was like such late notice that I was like, I'm probably not going to go to this. And then I was on Twitch last Wednesday. I was live streaming, and someone by the name of Jamie joined my stream, who I'd never spoken to before. I'd never seen him in my Twitch chat before. And he just asked me, was I going to the London event? And I said no. I explained him, you know, the same way I've just told you guys, that I tried to get the ticket, it didn't work out, yada yada yada. Then Jamie hits me with an absolute bombshell of, I was supposed to be going with a friend, they're not able to come anymore, spare ticket there, are you in? Alarm bells start going in my head, and I mean, you've already seen what ended up happening, how it transpired. I took him up on the offer. There was a lot of planning that went into it. This is again on Wednesday evening, and the show was on Saturday night, so it was like, you know, 2-3 days to actually get an Airbnb, flights organized. So all of that into the equation, you know, I had to make this decision very quickly, and I said, you know what, I think this is too big of an opportunity as a fan, and also as someone who now calls this his job, which is still like a pinch me moment. There was a lot of like pinch me moments in London, you know, whether it be just meeting the lads who I've watched online for so long, being Metal Burb and Steve. Even met, you know, MTN React as well, just very briefly. Just, it was so cool to see so much of the community there, and then like the amount of love, whether it be online, you know, after the event, with like pictures that have been going out and people commenting saying like, you know, how much they love the content and how much they love all three of us, and just the whole like community feel over the past few days has been absolutely mind-blowing to me. Because again, I'm sure Burb and Steve will agree with me in the sense that, you know, it's a very weird thing to spend a lot of time at home sitting in front of a camera like I'm doing right now, to then going to a very public social scenario and finally seeing all of the hard work that you've been putting in over the past year or so like coming to fruition. It's a very like pinch me, you know, finale moment. It feels like when you get to go to these big events, not only for the band, because of course we're all there as Sleep Token fans, and like it's a surreal experience for everyone who maybe have been following them for a few years to see how big this has become, but also just from a very personal level, maybe even like a selfish level. It's like very, very cool to just see the feedback from the audience, because of course I see the comments and I see everyone, you know, the lovely messages I receive all the time, but nothing will ever replace that feeling of just sitting down or going to the bar, in the pub before the venue, and someone coming over and just saying, hey man, look, I watched the content and I've been watching you for X amount of years. And it's like, it's such a crazy thing to even think about. But yeah, there was so many like pinch me moments over there where it was like just amazing to speak to anyone. And I tried to give everyone that did say hello as much of my time as possible, because it just doesn't go unnoticed. Like, it's just like, it's a real, like, it's an amazing feeling to even be able to speak to anyone who, you know, will come up and say hello. There was obviously a lot of people that were messaging on Instagram or on the comments saying they'd seen me but they didn't want to come and say hello. And again, I think Steve did a very good job of explaining my thoughts on that as well. Just how I'll never not want someone to, you know, come up and say hello. So if you ever do see me at an event or anything along those lines, please do come up and say hello. You know, even if I look like I've constantly got like a resting bitch face or something, I can assure you I will never turn down an opportunity to speak to someone who watches the content, because again, it's so few and far between that these moments actually arise. So yeah. Anyway, that was a lot of rambling. We are on to the event now, and we got into the arena I did meet up with Jamie and get my ticket. There was a few back and forth moments where I was starting to think I've been fully scammed here and I'm not going to actually be going. And I was like, how do I make a video out of this content? I was like, this might actually make some pretty decent content. Like, I flew to London to get scammed and then miss Sleep Token. I was thinking of like they were the ideas that were starting to rush through my head. That's how like deep I was in thinking that I was actually scammed and that Jamie wasn't a real person. And I'd just been sent to London after paying for my Airbnb and my flights. And then there's just no ticket there. But anyway, lo and behold, I met Jamie. We missed like the good portion of Health's set. I hadn't heard any of Health's music, so I wasn't like too upset about that, to be honest. But we did catch like the last maybe 2 or 3 tracks, and the vibe I got from them was I'd kind of been told that I would enjoy them because I'm very much so into the like EDM metal fusion in music. And from what I heard from them live, sounded like full of energy, quite unique. Rammstein-esque in parts, very industrial for sure, but it didn't, there was nothing in their set from the last 3 tracks or so that made me kind of excited to go back to them. Now again, this was in a venue. I was over at the kind of, if you're looking directly at the stage, I was at the top right. I'm sure I'll have some clips b-rolling over this so you'll get an idea. But yeah, I just didn't really get any like sense of I need to go and check out their new album and all of their discography after hearing them live. So also mix, I know Steve kind of mentioned it, and his brother Paul as well. You know, there was moments where I just didn't think that the mix sounded great, especially in hindsight after hearing Sleep Token. I thought Sleep Token sounded a lot better, which we'll get into. But yeah, that was Health. And then we moved on to, of course, the main event, which was Sleep Token. And spoiler alert, if anyone doesn't know the set list and wants to keep that fresh in their mind, then like, you know, maybe don't listen to this part, because I think the best way for me to actually recap my thoughts as the event unfolded is to just go through the set list, because it was an absolute Goliath of a set list. I've never seen a band perform for so long. It was insane. But I think the spectacle of the event, you know, it being such a big deal, Sleep Token's first like sellout arena show in their home country, it's a big deal. So I kind of figured it would be something a little bit different. So they started with Chokehold, which I know Steve talked about it as well, but I think most fans probably had that in their mind that if they start with Chokehold, there's a strong possibility that they just play the entirety of Take Me Back to Eden, which would have been absolutely amazing because you're just getting that completely fresh take. I believe that would probably be the first time they've ever done that, and it just felt maybe fitting because that is obviously the album that would have brought a lot of the people that were in this venue to this show, because obviously the popularity of this band has just skyrocketed since Take Me Back to Eden came out. So I think a lot of the people in the venue were probably like, once you hear that like drony meow from the start of Chokehold, I was like, okay, you know, it's happening, we're going to get the full album. But lo and behold, a very surprising second track was Hypnosis, which I haven't heard in a long time, but it just reminded me of how much I actually love that song. We then move on to Vor, which is one of my favorite choruses that Sleep Token have ever done. It is absolutely one of the most catchiest songs. It was one of those tracks that I didn't love too much when I first heard it because of like the kind of black metal inspired vocals, very screamy, very like almost jarring if you're not into it. But I think the way it just transcends into that chorus is just amazing. Then we had a bit of an interlude, and this led on to Dark Signs, which was the first introduction of the lasers when it comes to like the live performance aspect, which blew me away because the production of the actual event in and of itself was already spectacular. Like, there was so much going on. There was the reveal of the new masks and the new identity. Obviously, I was a little bit far away, so it was hard for me to see the details of it. But, you know, I was looking at what was going on and I was like, this looks different. I seen like the red hair on the bassist. Sorry, I'm very bad at remembering the order of the numbers, but the bassist, we'll call him, he had like the red hair and the red accents across his clothing. So it did look like there was like maybe fill-in members across the board. But it was only when I checked my phone on Instagram whilst the event was actually happening that I'd seen that Sleep Token at the same time had published their unveiling of the new like direction they're going with their new outfits. So it kind of started to make sense. Oh my god, they're showing this off for the first time at the London event. So that was a really special experience as well, to be able to say I was there when they unveiled their new look for the first time. So the lasers came out with Dark Signs. That was very impressive, and again made me feel like I was at a very, very big show, because to be honest, the only shows I've ever been at that have had lasers have been like these arena events. You know, it's not something that's very standard across the board. You might have like a nice backlight and maybe some backup dancers, which they also had as well at points. But the lasers are like a high production value thing to have in there. and it just added so much more like mystique to the set as well, especially with like the vibe that Dark Signs created. So that was obviously after the interlude. We had Dark Signs, then we had Like That, Akoresia, and then Rain. So it definitely took a, you know, more of a sexier, slower approach to this portion of the set, which I was very surprised by. But if anything, it kind of set a precedent that like this is going to be a long set, because having like 3 tracks that are fantastic back to back but are definitely on the slower side of their discography, I was thinking, right, we're probably going to get a very like extended set here at this point, because if you have the, you know, the space on a set list to do 3 tracks like that back to back, it just kind of, you know, was almost telling me this is going to go down a route of being quite a long show, which it ended up did. You know, it was a fucking insanely long show. But we had Rain, which was obviously the song where the dancers were first introduced. And then when Rain finished up, we had the second interlude of the show, which I don't know. Obviously, I don't think we can ever really know if that was a planned interlude. But that was when, you know, it's not really breaking news at this point, but Vessel was, you know, unable to continue the show at the level that he was performing at up until that point. We had, I believe, Sam. I don't know who Sam is, but I'm just reading something here. Sam, who's obviously one of the members of the crew, came on stage and just told the crowd that, look, Vessel's voice is pretty much depleted. Can we all help Vessel out? Because, again, like Steve mentioned in his video, they probably could have easily pulled the plug on that, which I think would have been a terrible decision. It just would have not been a good look. Would have been very embarrassing for the band. Obviously, the fans, I would have understood, because what can you do? Like, the lead vocalist, who is such a big, you know, pivotal part of the band, can't sing. Like, what else are they to do at this point? But at the same time, I'm very glad that they didn't, because if anything, I think it made the night that bit more special, because not only is it already a very unique event, it is now the event that is like the big pivotal moment in their career, and then the worst possible thing imagining. Like, I feel like if you were to make a list as a band member of things that could go wrong, I reckon it's in your top 2 things that could possibly happen. Is the vocalist of the band, who again is so pivotal in the sound overall, can't sing. Like, I mean, what other things could go wrong other than that? You know what I mean? Apart from like some awful tragedy, but that is like as close to an awful tragedy as you can get. And I think that really reflected in the emotion of the set after, because Vessel had a lot of moments where you could very clearly hear him having a very tough time emotionally. Now, I'm sure the voice not working is a huge part of that, but obviously I think even without that going into it, it's such a big moment for these guys. The insane growth they've had, I'm sure they just still have to pinch themselves. Like, I'm getting chills even talking about it, like how big of a moment it is for them. And then for like the worst possible thing to happen with his voice going is just crazy. So that happened. We were all in shock. I got a video of it as well. Like, I just happened to be recording and it just happened. I was like, did I just capture this moment? Is this mental that Vessel is not able to sing? But again, like I mentioned, I think the next song that came after this was absolutely perfect for the way in which it came together, because it was the summoning, and the way the summoning hits, the it just got the crowd so hyped. Obviously, everyone was there to support the band no matter what. So it was such a fucking insane atmosphere, I think, after that point, because I think the crowd were like, okay, look, we're deciding the destiny of this show. It can either be an absolute bore fest because it's going to be Vessel dancing around like a maniac on stage, or we can essentially just take the position of Vessel as a collective unit and, you know, make this the show and the event that it was always booked to be. And I think everyone in the venue like deserves the round of applause, because it was insane at some points. There was some tracks in particular which were like, you just really had to like take a step back and be like, wow, the noise of this crowd. Again, I don't know if it would have been that loud if it wasn't for the situation that had unfolded, but you can only assume that a massive reason as to why it got that loud in the arena was because people really, really wanted to get behind the band overall, because it's a weird experience for the other members as well to be playing in like, Vessel is essentially now just like a mime. He's just an actor at this point, because he's not singing. He did some moments where he would sing the more mellow parts or like interlude sections of certain songs. Ultimately, he's now an actor on stage who is there as like a hype man for the rest of the crowd. So the crowd became the lead vocalist of the night, and Vessel was almost like a kind of harmonizing backup vocalist, which is such a cool, unique experience to have been a part of. And I do think down the line, this will make this show a lot more special, because it's just more memorable. You know what I mean? It just is. it didn't take away from the night at all in terms of the enjoyment, and the emotion in the arena was insane. I didn't like personally have any like tearful moments. I was just taking it in. I was in awe. I was just so happy to see the band, but I can definitely see why the way the set list was structured and everything that happened, I can see why people would really like find that, just that, you know, moment of feels. So anyway, moving on from that, we had Granite, which is again a fantastic song as well. We had The Love You Want, audience sings for Vessel. That's like in brackets here, but I mean the audience was singing for Vessel no matter what. One of my favorite moments came after interlude number 3, and again, to have like this many interludes in a set was pretty insane. But then we had Atlantic, and Atlantic again, like after everything that's already happened, this was like Vessel full on breakdown in the middle of the stage. And I don't mean like that kind of breakdown, I mean emotional breakdown, and that made that song just cut through so much more as well. The lighting choices, just everything that had led up to it. I feel like if you're a Sleep Token fan, you'll just completely understand why it's such an emotional moment. Again, there's obviously the tragedy of Vessel's voice not working as well, so it just made it more emotional, but you could hear him just crying into the microphone, and the reverb around the arena, and then that brought the crowd out more, and there was other people crying. It was like such a beautiful moment, and probably one of my favorite moments of the set. But then we moved on to Nazareth, and then Alkaline. Again, Alkaline, just such a banger, one of my favorite songs. Ascensionism, Higher, interlude 4, and then Take Me Back to Eden, which to me was like, myself and Jamie were talking back and forth about like, I wonder if they're going to play this song, and I wonder if they're going to play this song, and it was such a joy to hear Take Me Back to Eden. The birds were kind of like almost teased throughout the entire set. There was moments in the interlude sections where like the ambience that they were playing was like, you could hear the birds from certain sections of Take Me Back to Eden, and it was like, you know, they're just teasing it. It was like a real like fun idea to think that this is going to play at some point. And then lo and behold, track number 16 on the set, Take Me Back to Eden, the title track of the album that really set these guys on fire this year. And again, I don't need to go into much detail. Again, it's one of these things that's very hard to put the emotions into words. It's just like you had to have been there kind of a moment, but I hope I can do my best to, maybe just by the way I'm talking about it, get my feelings towards the event out to you guys, because it was very special. But then we had the very clearly encore track, because we were getting to that point where we were like over 2 hours into the set, and it was like, how long are these guys actually going to play for? But like everyone was still lapping it up. I was loving it, but it was like, okay, are we just gonna go all night here? Like, it was insane. The Offering, the first track I've ever heard by Sleep Token, the first reaction I've ever done almost 4 years ago, the track that instantly made me fall in love and become a fan of this band. The Offering, the perfect encore track, like it was just so perfect. I think the loudest moment of the entire night was the breakdown section of that track when Vessel has that call out. Again, he didn't get involved in the call out, but the crowd made the like just the take a bite, like the noise of that call out was absolutely insane. We had a circle pit going for the build up. It was just a really cool experience to be up in the corner in the seated section, to be able to see like all of the things that were going on down in the pit. I assumed the show was over. The Offering, I was like, I'm happy with that being the outro. Again, I know a lot of people were really excited to hear Euclid, and of course I would have been absolutely ecstatic to hear that as well. I don't think there would have been a dry eye in the entire arena if that came on. But Vessel had a moment, like they came out on stage, Vessel went down, he bowed down to the crowd, so everyone was like, okay, it's over. The Offering, you're not really going to get much more of a climax than that. And then Vessel walks back onto stage and goes behind his piano or his keyboard. Bloodsport. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say like I was absolutely ecstatic to hear Bloodsport. It's not been one of my favorite Sleep Token songs, but I think just with everything that went into it, it was just a very emotional moment for a lot of people there regardless. I think they could have played fucking anything. They could have played the theme song to SpongeBob on the piano, and I think people would have been crying just with the way in which everything unfolded on the night. So yeah, a fucking insane night from start to finish. Again, apologies that this is just kind of more of a podcast now at this point, but I wanted to just make sure I stamp this event with a video. Again, there's going to be a vlog that does come out following the day after, because we had the full day in London on Sunday with Steve and Metal Burb, so that'll be fun. I haven't started working on that yet, but I know I have a lot of footage just from like being tourists for the day. We got some beers. Actually, we got a lot of beers. That's probably an understatement. But yeah, my overall thoughts on the event, man, is just like ecstatic. It hasn't really sunk in yet that I've finally seen the band. It hasn't sunk in yet like the amount of people that knew the channel and came over and said hello. Like, forever grateful for all those people that like made the effort to come over and say hello, and then all the people that maybe were a little bit too shy that messaged me on Instagram after, or people who are watching from abroad that were so happy to see myself, Burb and Steve all collaborate and get together. It's just like a really, really like warming feeling to see that people are interested in seeing like three guys who sit, you know, in their rooms at home by themselves and just give their thoughts on music that we all love. So yeah, that's going to be me for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy. Please do leave a like on it if you did. It's always a great feedback loop when I do get something like that, because ultimately I don't know how this content goes down until I post it. And again, that's another reason as to why it's so nice to meet people in person, because, you know, it's that feedback that you never actually receive in person. So yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed the show if you were there, and I hope you enjoyed my recap. And yeah, keep an eye on the channel. I have a vlog coming very soon. And that's it. Good night. God bless. Cheers.